Today we got to recap all the Sunday games from NFL Week 10 on this edition of the Shumake Take. Let's get it. All right, and welcome in everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome freaking day. My name is Garrett Shumake, and you're listening to the Shumake Take. This is episode number 21. We've got to recap NFL Week 10, Thursday night, Saturday morning Germany game, and all of the Sunday games, excluding Sunday Night Football and then excluding Monday Night Football, which we will cover on Wednesdays, as we normally do on this show. First and foremost, as you can tell, I am back in my room. The setup is back. Got my microphone on a table for once I'm not holding it. Got my notes here on a table, not holding it. The football's back. The desk is back. The awesome, but at the same time, blanded backdrop is back. The chair is back. And will we also be back to, we're recording on Sunday night. So this will be out Monday morning. I think I'm going to start having videos come out Monday morning at 8 o'clock specifically. So that way you guys have a specific time to be anticipating when videos drop. Because normally I just after I'm done with this, I put everything back together and then I begin editing. And then once it's uploaded, I kind of just let my laptop go on, let it upload overnight. And then whenever it uploads, it uploads. So usually videos probably they come out at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, which no one's watching YouTube at that time here. At least I wouldn't think here in where I live in the state of Florida in the United States, where 5, 6 o'clock in the morning ain't nobody awake except for a small there's a certain handful of people that got to work at that time. But I'm gonna have it come out at 8 o'clock. That's when most the average people get up and start your day off right with a fresh cup of Shumake Take, I guess. And other than that, as you can tell, I'll move my mic for a quick second. Wearing a t-shirt that I used to wear in high school that doesn't fit me anymore because I wore it in high school. But you can tell kind of that there's an eagle on here. There's an American flag. Obviously, it's red and blue. And I'm wearing this to celebrate because tomorrow is Veterans Day. I'm obviously big thing, for me at least. I'm a big patriot myself, honestly. I don't really talk about it that much. Let me move the mic back, I guess, get it back into place. But I just want to real quick thank every military member that served and fought for our country, whether it was way back when or they just got out. I want to thank all of them because they sacrificed their lives for our freedom and our for our rights to be able to get up and go to work in the morning and make money, for our rights to get up and go for our runs in the morning, get up and make this show, record this show every day, stuff like that. It's thanks to them and their sacrifices that we are here today doing what we're able to do and living through the thick of life, right? And I'll even though they're not veterans, I'll extend that and thank every active military men and women, whether you're serving in the Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, whatever it may be. Thank you for serving and protecting our freedom and giving us the right to be able to do what we do every day. And I know we talk, a lot of people have our own problems and we're all going through a lot of stuff, especially as of recently. But, sometimes you always have to kind of remember that someone else always has it worse. And, definitely, our active duty military men and women and those that it served, they're the 1% of people that were willing to do the 1% of things that 99% of people weren't willing to do. And, a lot of them have been through things that compared to what our everyday problems are, they probably, if they had the opportunity to switch and take our lives and our problems, they'd probably do it and take it back in a heartbeat, So thank you for every veteran that served in our military, that sacrificed a lot, everything for our, they sacrificed their rights, really, everything, their freedom, their lives, and, their time for us to have, for us to be able to do, what we want to do, for us to pursue our own hobbies, pursue our own careers, make money. And, thank you to all of them, whether active or veteran, for giving us the opportunity to be here today, whether you're listening or me recording this video. But I'm recording a little bit later than I normally wanted to. Right now it's 9:52 p.m. Currently the Texans and Lions game is going on right now. I wanted to watch it, and I wasn't probably going to record till Monday night, but when I got home today, went to go turn my cable box on because I wanted to catch the second half of the Eagles-Cowboys game just so I could watch it. But found out my cable box ain't working, so got to figure out what's going on with it. It's like a second or third box that's not working, so it's got to be something with my outlet, I'm guessing. So at some point, we're going to get that checked out so I can actually watch, Sunday and Monday Night Football and other games in the afternoon if I happen to be home. But speaking of football, we had a crazy week of football today. Maybe not crazy, but there's been a couple crazy moments in here. And I'll just preface this. As I was making the script, I found myself repeating myself a lot with certain narratives. And here's the thing. One narrative that's going to be repeated a lot in this episode as a disclaimer is, organization mattering and having, the importance of having a good organization and also having the importance of a good running game. Because this week really showed, the importance of what a good running game does for a team. And how, what it does for your offense and for your team when it's working and what it does when it's not working. Because there's a lot of games in here where, there were teams lost because they couldn't run the football, and then a lot of teams won because they could run the football. And so, along with that, organizationally, that'll come up a little bit less, but, just to also say, these are also the two biggest takeaways of the entire NFL season, but we're not going to fully go in depth with these conversations. They'll come up when they come up, but I want to kind of do a preface because I'm going to be talking about it a lot. It's going to come up a lot when I talk about these games and recap them. So, just a little thing in advance, but we'll start with Thursday Night Football, where the Baltimore Ravens came back to beat the Cincinnati Bengals 35-34, and we'll start with the losing team with Cincinnati because, man, this is disappointing, absolutely disappointing. Before I go into Cincinnati, let's just talk about how good of a game this was. When I talked about this game starting out, I thought this was going to be a good game. I didn't think it was going to rival our first meeting, which was arguably game of the year. This one was probably game of the year. This one was arguably better than the first one, in my opinion. But, this game was just nuts. And for Cincinnati, we'll get into Cincinnati. The only thing they got is Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and that's pretty much it. That's all they really got to lean on. Because, Joe Burrow, he throws 428 yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw 56 passes in this game. Jamar Chase, 11 catches, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, including the one that was the game tire at that point in time, or took the lead, I think. Yeah, took the lead. And the thing was, they had more first downs in this game, fewer punts, they had more total plays, fewer penalties, better time of possession. But why? With all that stuff and all, talking about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase having one of the best games as a duo they've ever had, probably the best game they've ever had as a duo, and they still lost. Why? Well, I'll tell you why they lost. First off, third down efficiency was not good. They were 50% on third down. Sacks, they allowed multiple sacks in this game. Only 3, but still, compared to the Ravens 0, that's something to be mentioned. And also, the running game, it was one-dimensional. They could barely run the football this game, and that's why Joe Burrow threw the ball 56 times. And here's the thing. I don't care how talented your quarterback is or how talented your wide receivers are. NFL coaches will tell you this, every freaking day, that you have to be able to run the football. Even if you're a primarily passing football team like the Cincinnati Bengals, you have to still be able to run the football. Because what creates opportunities down the field is good running backs, good running play. Because, I don't have to really explain this, but I will just for the sake of the argument. When you're running the football, if you're doing it good, more defenders are going to line up and get closer to the line of scrimmage to stop it, right? And that's what limits, obviously fewer players on the defense are out backward, covering the receivers, which is where your opportunities and your big plays happen. And so that's why you have to have, and why offenses and, head coaches preach having a good running attack and running the football. Even if, they're a primarily passing team, coaches always talk about how you have to establish the run and run the football. And this is why. Because when you're throwing the ball more and you're one-dimensional, it's going to be harder to convert on third downs. You're obviously going to allow more sacks because your pass dropping back more. It's just simple correlation. And then, and that's where you're probably going to get more first downs because you're throwing the ball more. And you're going to get more plays in, obviously, and you're going to get better time of possession, probably. That one's kind of iffy, but still, I mean, a lot of the stuff here that, contributed to their numbers being so high also contributed to what they weren't doing good enough on offense in general, which cost them the game. And for Cincinnati, I mean, it just sucks. It just sucks that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are putting up good numbers every single week. Actually great numbers every single week if we're really being honest. And it's not showing for anything. They're 4-6 right now, and they're beating bad teams. They're good enough to beat up on the bad teams pretty good, but when it comes to facing the good teams in the league, they're not there. And, they're no longer bad. I mean, I wouldn't say they're a bad football team, but they're on the cusp of it. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, the team would be bad. These players are the only two things that are consistently getting it done every week, and the running game is too inconsistent. Last week Chase Brown had 150 yards from scrimmage, and in this game he didn't even break 100. And it's crazy to go show like what a difference of a week makes. But you got to give Joe and Jamar, you got to give these guys help. You got to give them help. Other offensive weapons aren't getting it done. They're not being consistent. Defensively, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I think you got to get a new defensive coordinator in here. You got to revamp this defense. In this offseason, I expect Cincinnati to overhaul this defense. I expect it because here's the thing. This team a few years ago was in the Super Bowl and almost won it. To me, there's no way that the Super Bowl window is truly shut. I know I talked about it a couple weeks ago that it's almost shut, but it's part of me still can't believe it. Because why? Organizationally, how does this happen? How does this happen? And I don't fully know the answer to that question, if I'm honest, but it's sad. It's still sad nonetheless, because like I said, this team was in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and now like they're not even going to make the playoffs, and they're running the chance of having a top 10 pick in the draft. Arguably, a lot of two-win teams won today. So, I mean, it makes that first overall pick race, in a way, a little bit tighter than it already was. I mean, obviously, a couple teams that were, already 2 wins, they lost today, which, they kind of separated themselves in that regard. But still, I mean, the top 10 of the draft is still wide open. It's still completely wide open. So many teams are 2-3 games behind 500, and the Bengals are right there with it. The Bengals are right with them, and it's just sad to see what is happening in Cincinnati, because I thought the Bengals were going to make the playoffs this year, if I was being honest. Or if I am being honest, well, I mean, I was in my schedule prediction. I had them be going 10-7 or 11-6 and being second in the division. But right now, I mean, they're just not getting it done. It just stinks. And, when you look at Baltimore, they didn't have as many yards. They didn't, they had fewer first downs, more punts, worse time of possession. But they were better on third down. Justin Matabuke got 3 sacks, which, exemplifies that the Bengals' offensive line, especially on the interior, is just simply not that good. Lamar Jackson, he went for 290 yards, but he threw 4 touchdowns. The team ran for 99 yards as a team. They were able to do a little bit of everything that they were able to do. And then, you get a couple good plays in there, like Tylan Wallace. Shout out to that guy. I forgot to look up where if he's a rookie. I don't know where he came from, but he had a big touchdown in this game. People are saying it should have been called back. I don't know what there's no backwards angle, I don't think, which was kind of the explanation as to why it was still called a touchdown, because his foot really wasn't out of bounds. It was up in the air. I don't know. But either way, I mean, here's the thing. The Ravens, it's a tale of what's going on here. I mean, the Bengals were one-dimensional, couldn't run the football, and they put up better numbers offensively, but because they were one-dimensional, it made it harder for them to win the game. And for Baltimore, that, being able to do both led them to winning. And of course, if you want to talk about the refs blowing, obvious holes in face masks at the end of the game, we'll talk more about referees at the end. But bottom line is, I mean, the Ravens did more than enough to win. And, the Bengals, they scored the touchdown that would have, tied it if they had gone for the extra point, but they went for 2 to try and go for the win, which, sure, you probably should do that in that situation. Didn't work out. But for Baltimore, they get another good win. Cincinnati suffers another sad, embarrassing, well, not embarrassing, but very sad, depressing loss. But hey, I mean, if you're a Bengals fan, I'm sorry. If you're a Ravens fan, you're probably happy, really, really happy. And for, casual viewers, well, not casual, but like for casual viewers and hardcore viewers like me who enjoy watching football, well, this was a treat. It was overall a great game. Had a lot of good moments. But, yeah, just unfortunate for Cincinnati, but for Baltimore, they're rolling. They're rolling. They got a great team, doing a lot of good things right now. Next one, I caught this one at the end, like the last 2 minutes of the game. But Giants and Panthers in Germany. Panthers win 20-17 in overtime. And we'll start with the winning team with Bryce Young. He had a good game today. He was fine. He had 126 yards, had a touchdown. Didn't do anything great, but you know what? Compared to what he's done all year to this point, he's got a solid performance. The Panthers have won 2 straight. And, he looks to be steadily improving. And will the Panthers be going anywhere this year? No. They're not about to go on some crazy run or anything. But here's the deal. I mean, you get a couple good wins together against some bad teams, and you instill some confidence in your quarterback, and you kind of feel a little bit better right now, at least, that things are gonna might be okay. They might not be okay this year, but in the future, you think they're gonna be okay. And part of it is because of Chuba Hubbard. Earlier in the week, he was given a 4-year, $33 million extension, and I thought that was a little bit iffy because I thought, Chuba Hubbard's an inconsistent running back. He's not that good. But then looking at his stats and stuff, he's been good this year. He has 800 yards. He had 6 touchdowns, 5.1 yards per carry, which is crazy. And, the numbers aren't out of the top great, but he's really solid. And in this game, he was great. He had 28 carries, 153 yards. He had a touchdown. I mean, if that's the identity that the Panthers need to run with in order to compete in games, that's what it's going to have to be. And, Chuba Hubbard's up for the task. By all means, you got your contract. Go get it. First game after signing it, you played great. Keep it up, dude. Keep it up. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for him that he's doing that. And defensively for Carolina, I mean, got a couple sacks, got a couple interceptions off of Daniel Jones. I mean, the Panthers did enough to win. And we'll get to the Giants in a second of why the Panthers, and because they are the reason why the Panthers were able to win. I'll explain it more in detail. That doesn't make much sense, but we're getting there, I promise. But the Panthers did enough to win. They played fine in this game. It wasn't great, but you know what? If you're the Carolina Panthers or you're a Panthers fan, you'll take any win if it's given to you. I mean, if you have an opportunity to go win and you can take one away from another bad team, go ahead and take it. I mean, it's good for the organization. It's good for the team, for the players. It's good for the fans to get a couple wins together and have a little bit of, at least temporary happiness, if anything. But if you're a Giants fan, it's all sad. It's all sad, doom, and gloom. And Daniel Jones, after this year, needs to go, man. He just needs to go. I know we've talked about how bad he is all year, but it's getting really annoying that I have to talk about him every single week that he's playing so bad. 2 picks in this game. Obviously, see the game, so I didn't see how bad they were. But, what are we doing here? What are the Giants doing? At this point, I have to start to question, because here's the thing. I kind of reflected on it during this game. Listen to these players on offense. Malik Neighbors, who's a contender for Offensive Rookie of the Year, right? Their next guy is Darius Slayton, who's been a reliable slot receiver for them for years, who's played much better in the past. And then you have Jalen Hyatt, who was a 3rd-round pick who won the Fred Biletnikoff award when he was in college at the University of Tennessee. And then you have Wan'Dale Robinson, who really hasn't done much of anything since he's been in the league. But, he's got speed. He's got a lot of deep speed. So, there's something there, of talent. And then you look at Tyrone Tracy, who had 18 carries, had 103 yards in this game, 5.7 yards a carry. And he was the one who fumbled the ball in overtime and gave Carolina the ball back in field goal range. They went down, they got a little bit of yards and kicked the field goal and won the game. And, it's sad to see him, as emotional as he was in the sideline after doing that. And, he's a rookie. And I feel bad for the kid because right now him and Malik are the only 2 good things on this offense. And, Daniel Jones is holding them back. Daniel Jones is simply holding them back. And with a better quarterback, this team is simply going to be better. This team is simply going to be better. And I know, the defense has its own issues. But I mean, you got it. The first thing first, and if you want to build an organization right and get the team right, is you got to get the quarterback right. And if you don't get the quarterback right, it's all for nothing. And the Giants do have plenty of talent on this offense. Has it equated to much? No, obviously not. But I mean, you could imagine like a team, like you have like a more decent quarterback in there, and you could get more out of it. Like you could put Derek Carr in New York, and he'd probably get more out of this offense. If I'm being entirely honest, that's how bad Daniel Jones is, and I'm sick and tired of having to talk about him, and I'm sick and tired of having to look at the stat line every week, watch him play, when I get the opportunity to, and see nothing but absolute crap. I'm sorry. He's just not good. At this point, I'm out. I mean, I've been out, I guess, for a while, but really reflecting on it, God, it's just so annoying, and I feel so bad for Giants fans that have to deal with this. And then you look at Saquon Barkley. Again, Saquon Barkley, you didn't pay him, and he's now in Philly, making his case for Offensive Player of the Year right now. He's not going to get it, but he's making a case for it. What more? How much more pain can Giants fans feel at this point? At this point, I mean, organizationally, you got to let him go. And sadly, I think Brian Daboll is going to go with him. I think he's a good coach, but usually in this situation, everybody goes, which means DJ's gone, Daboll's gone, the GM's gone, coaching staff is gone, and they're bringing a whole new group of guys in here to try and get this right. And all I can hope is when that happens, they pick the right one. That's all I can hope for, but honestly, this game overall was just not that good, in my opinion. I mean, even watching the last 2 minutes and going into overtime, it was just ugly, disgusting football. And, the highlight of this game was Sean Hockley calling flags in German. I saw the video online and then I went back and looked at it. And it's really cool. That was really cool that Sean Hockley did that. Shout out to him for calling penalties in German and helping out our NFL fans out there and out there across the pond. Real good stuff. I'm trying to fix my stand. If you remember, my stand on this broke, so my tablet likes to lean over a little bit if I let it. But here we go. I think we're good. We're good? Yes, we're good. All right, next up, our first Sunday game on the list. Regular time. Correction, regular time, because this game, the Munich game in Germany was at 9:30, and I told you on Thursday I was not getting up to watch this game. And I didn't miss that much. This one I didn't miss that much either. The Patriots beating the Chicago Bears 19-3, and the name of the game for the Patriots was running the football. Running the football. They ran for almost 150 yards in this game. Drake May had 184 yards. He had a touchdown, had a pick, but overall he played okay. So, what do you expect out of a rookie quarterback? They got 9 sacks, though. Defensively, if it wasn't the name of the game, if the name of the game was not the running game, I apologize. It was the defense. They had 9 sacks. They came to play, and this Chicago Bears offense that's super talented got completely shut down. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because here's the thing. Number one, first and foremost, Caleb Williams is a rookie. I'm saying it in the mic. Quieter. I'm trying to speak quieter so I can compensate for my fact that my mic is closer to my mouth. He's a rookie. He's a rookie, guys. He is a rookie. I said this before the season started, and when I explained them going 8-9, I said this was a reason. Because Caleb Williams is a rookie. Everyone thought that because he had Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, 2 young tackles, a really good defense, and a good running back, and DeAndre Swift, that he would just, they'd get another CJ Stroud rookie year. We'd see it again. And funny enough, we have seen it again. It's with Jaden Daniels out in Washington. But in Chicago, they're 4-5. And, I don't like to toot my own horn that much because I'm normally a humble guy, but I said it. I said that Caleb Williams is a rookie and he's going to struggle. He's going to struggle. Even with all this talent around him, it's gonna take time. It's going to take time. But I mean, the other problem with this team and why they're 4-5 is coaching, which is another reason why I had them going 8-9 in the first place. It was because Matt Eberflus is not a good coach. He's not a good coach. There's still issues from when he first got there. Play calling at certain moments have been horrible. Offensive line play is bad and it's not getting fixed. In the interior, it's terrible. All those issues on offense, that's coaching. And then you look at Matt Eberflus more specifically, and and there's been breakdowns in oh my God, let me look at this properly, man. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so I already mentioned, the play calling certain moments is bad. Offensive line play in the interior has been bad. And, inconsistent quarterback play, as I said, is an issue. And defensively, there's been breakdowns in critical moments, especially, like, for example, like the Washington game. That was very bad on that Hail Mary, in Arizona. It wasn't very good either. And you look at Matt Eberflus, can't manage a game, can't make adjustments most of the time. And then you got Kevin Byard in the post-game press conference, when they ask him about the confidence in the staff, when he says he doesn't want to go there, what's happening? Like, what's going on? I mean, it's coaching. Part of it's Caleb Williams, that he's a rookie, but the bigger issue is that it's coaching. Matt Eberflus is not a good coach. And, people got so caught up in all of the eye candy and all of the talent on this roster, which, quite frankly, probably is good enough to make the playoffs. But they don't got the coaches to make it happen, which is why I had them going 8-9. Because Caleb Williams is a rookie quarterback who's going to need time, and then I don't trust Matt Eberflus as a head coach. If you let go of Matt Eberflus and you get a young offensive head coach in here to work with Caleb Williams, I think that could be perfect. Because not only would this, coach, not only would he be inheriting a roster that's ready to compete, which makes his job a lot easier, at the same time, he's getting to work with one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. Say what you want about Caleb Williams, the dude has more talent than almost anybody in the NFL if you're looking based off of talent. Just talent alone. He is one of the highest in the NFL, and you look at overall ceiling. That's a fact. That's a fact, and I'm willing to debate that, no matter how good or bad Caleb Williams plays. Strictly looking at him as a talent and his ceiling, one of the highest in the NFL. There's no doubt about that. So you get a young offensive head coach in here that can, maximize Caleb Williams' potential and, get more out of this offensive line, get more out of this defense that's breaking down in critical moments, and you get more get more just out of everybody in general, and this team is going to go places. But you got to get better coaches, and that starts organizationally. But organization will come in a little bit later. But I mean, this game just shows that, coaching matters. Coaching really does matter. And for the Bears, their coaching is what's going to be their downfall and why they're not going to make the playoffs this year. Sorry, that is how it is. And, the Bears aren't going to go anywhere until Matt Eberflus is fired. Straight up, they ain't going nowhere until Matt Eberflus and his coaching staff is fired. Sorry. That's just how I see it. Moving on to the 49ers and Buccaneers. 49ers win in Tampa 23-20 off of a game-winning field goal by Jake Moody. Missed 3 kicks earlier, which, that sucks, but wanted to call him out for a moment, kind of bring attention to it. Deebo Samuel pushing, whether it was the holder or the long snapper, after the third missed field goal, putting his hands on him and pushing him backwards, and then, he's walking away right after doing that. And it's like, come on, dude. Here's the thing. If you're going to be a bad teammate, if you're going to do something, on the sideline, being a bad teammate where the cameras are going to catch you 100% of the time, I'm going to call it to attention. Not that, anybody's going to see it or nothing. Not that, my take on this is going to blow up or anything. But at the same time, you look at that and it's like, you don't do that to your teammate. You don't ever put your teammate down like that in public. There's a common phrase. I've said it before here in the show. You criticize in private, you praise in public. Or you praise in public, criticize in private. And, it's one thing there's a difference between, pushing your teammate, yelling at him, and, being a bad teammate, than, yelling at your guys, rallying them, and get them ready to go. There's a difference. There's a very much of a difference there. For example, like a quarterback, calling out his offensive line because they're not blocking that well. There's a difference. There's a difference in that. Because teammates don't put their hands on each other because one person's not doing that well and not doing a good job. And, if I'm being honest, the offense for San Francisco wasn't doing enough either. Because, if they were in the red zone multiple times and they had to settle for 3. They were in enemy territory multiple times and had to settle for 3. And, if you took those possessions and turned them into touchdowns, you wouldn't be in that situation. Calling out your teammate and putting your hands on him for him not doing his job, that's selfish. Because you could have done a better job yourself. It's not like you were playing a perfect game. Like, come on, Debo. You should know better. And that's the thing, too, is me morally, if I'm going to publicly criticize someone like that, I better publicly apologize and acknowledge what they did, too. Because he's the one who ultimately won you the game. So you better be publicly thanking him as well. You better. That's the morally right thing to do. Sorry. It is, but besides that, continuing with the 49ers, offensively, they were fine. Brock Purdy played well in this game. Christian McCaffrey only had 39 yards rushing, but he ended up having 68 receiving yards, so had over 100 scrimmage yards, so he was fine in this game, which is good to see him come back. He hasn't been here since week 1. So good for him. That was nice to see him back. And then other than that, Juwan Jennings made a lot of plays, especially along the sideline. It constantly felt like he was making a catch in that area and then just running up the sideline for additional yards after the catch. And he was very explosive and effective in this game. And then Ricky Pearsall caught his first NFL touchdown of his career, and congratulations to him. That man is someone we should be celebrating because he's gone through a lot recently. Taking a round object into your chest. I'm only saying stuff like this so YouTube doesn't catch it and be like, oh, you said word that doesn't sound good. You're not. Well, I'm going to strike you down. Not that they probably would anyways. But, after going through what Ricky Pearsall has gone through and dealing with all that, to come back and score an NFL touchdown, that's insane. That's awesome. Congratulations to Ricky Pearsall for his first touchdown and for probably one of the best bounce back stories I've heard in the NFL ever. Because who comes back from the NFL to play in the NFL and catch a touchdown pass after going through what he went through? That's insane. So big credit, shout out to him for Ricky Pearsall for getting his first career touchdown. And defensively, they didn't get a lot of sacks in this game. I think they finished 3 or 2.5, something like that. But they got pressure all game long. This Bucs offensive line, which is good most of the time, against good defensive lines, they have struggled a lot. Against Denver, they struggled a lot. This game, they struggled a lot. They got pressure all the game. And, the secondary didn't adapt too well when plays broke down and Baker Mayfield started scrambling. But, one corner is a rookie and the other one is just your average starter. So, what do you expect? Right? What do you expect there? So, fine. But, the defense, like I said, they got a ton of pressure in this game. And ultimately, it almost didn't matter. Because Baker Mayfield's him. Whether you like it or not, whether the Bucs are 4-6 or have a better record, Baker Mayfield's him, bro. He broke away from multiple sacks in this game. He broke away from multiple sacks in this game. And not only that, on fourth down, he's running to his right. And as Nick Bosa is barreling down on him, he starts stiff-arming him, holding him in place to find an open receiver and convert fourth down. Who does that? What can you tell me how many quarterbacks in the NFL can do that and play with that type of heart? Come on, bro. That's insane. And then earlier in the game, he's running around the pocket, buying time, spins around, completely spinning around to break a sack, and then immediately nearly throws an absolute dime for a touchdown pass. Literally almost threw a 360 no-scope touchdown pass. How do you do that? How do you spin around, avoid a sack, and immediately just chuck it up and almost complete the pass? As I said, he nearly 360 no-scoped a 50-plus yard touchdown. That's insane. Baker Mayfield, this game, he's literally carrying this offense right now. without Evans and Godwin, I mean, they've tried to get their running backs more involved and get their tight ends more involved. And, to a certain extent, I mean, they have. I mean, Bucky Irving and Rashad White both caught the ball well, both ran the ball well in this game. And, they were, number 1 and number 3 in top pass catchers, catching the most passes in a game. Yeah, that makes sense. Ultimately, though, I mean, without without Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, I mean, your offense you can tell it's severely limited. Because, I mean, and you can tell that the lack of depth at their wide receiver room is showing. And it just stinks because, I mean, if they were there, honestly, if Evans and Godwin were here, they'd probably be, 5-5, or they'd probably be, 6-4. Most definitely would have more wins than what they have now. But because their offense is so limited, I mean, it's just hard when you're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs defense in primetime in Kansas City. Tough situation. That's hard to overcome. And then you go up against the 49ers, who are a really good football team, who are very well coached. And that's also very, very tough. There's a couple tough breaks for them to go up against. And I'm not sure who they play next week. We'll talk more about that Wednesday. But it's just a tough break. Tough break for the Bucs. And defensively, for both teams, really, they just needed to be more disciplined. Both teams allowed a lot of big plays here, especially at the end of the game. I mean, the 49ers' final drive, they had two face masks, defensively, they had two face masks on offside, which allowed Tampa to go down there and kick a field goal and take the lead. And then, they went to go down to tie it. And then the Bucs defense, they broke down and let the San Francisco 49ers drive down the field and get the game-winning field goal. Right? So, I mean, both defenses just needed to be more disciplined in this game. But, I mean, overall, the game was close. It was fun. It was awesome. I watched it from start to finish. But a lot of good football left on the field for Tampa. And, hopefully they can get back on track soon. And for San Francisco, good for them. They got a win here, and now they're 5-4. And with Christian McCaffrey back, they should probably get back to their winning ways, I would assume. And also, I looked at the graphic on when they were broadcasting the game, and Kyle Shanahan's record after a bye week is pretty solid, if I do say so myself. So I expect the 49ers to return to form a little bit and get back to running speed. But for Tampa, got to get Mike Evans back soon, as soon as you can, because without him and Godwin out there, I mean, it's just going to be more and more tumbling downward for Tampa. All right, next one. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Denver Broncos 16-14. Kansas City blocks what could have been the game-winning field goal. And for them, the big takeaway is that 8 games out of their 9 wins are one-score games. No team has ever done that at this rate and won them all. No team has done that. And that's insane. It goes to show the resilience of this team and to show, no matter what is going on in Kansas City, they're going to find a way to win. No matter what happens. And that's insane. The Broncos, Bo Nix played well. I'll do a shout out to Audric Estime. He didn't do a whole lot in this game, but considering he's a rookie, I think at this point during the year, get him more involved, and you can get another back in the draft and have a solid backfield. And defensively, you got Mahomes 4 times, and you held him to 14 points. You literally did. This entire team did everything it could to stop Patrick Mahomes, and they did. Their defense literally did. Their offense was in position, got them down the field, and they were in position to go win the game. And the Chiefs just blocked it, made an incredible play on special teams. And that was the name of the game. The Broncos, they laid everything out. They did everything they possibly could, and the Chiefs still did what the Chiefs do, and that's win football games. Now, going up against Buffalo is going to be a lot more difficult of a task, and it's the toughest game they're going to face all year. But hey, Chiefs got to win a critical win against a division rival. They keep their perfect record intact as of now, and I'm sure they're going to be going back to the drawing board after this game. But for Denver, even though you lost, you have to feel proud. You have to feel proud that you were able to get that close to beating Patrick Mahomes. Because right now, no one has beat him yet. And would it have been nice if you were the first team to beat him? Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, you got to be proud of what this team is and how hard they're fighting, especially on defense. I mean, we've talked about it before of how much better this team is than I thought they were going to be going into the year. But, I mean, I think the Broncos are going to be okay. I think the Broncos are fine. Just a tough loss against a really good team. Tough way to lose it, of course. But, I mean, I keep on saying I mean a lot. I just realized how much I've been saying that. But you got to be, like I said, you got to be proud. You got to be proud of how hard they fought. Kansas City, they escaped with the win. Not much more to say. Good game overall. Next up on the list, we got Bills traveling to the Colts, winning 30-20. Josh Allen, the first Bills quarterback since Doug Flutie in the early 2000s to beat Indy in Indianapolis. And how did he do that exactly? Through 2 picks. Belichick, excuse me. But the jokes about throwing 2 picks aside, he's become really good at distributing the football this year. And early on, the big thing about Josh Allen was he wasn't turning the ball over. And sure, he's thrown 4 or 5 picks in the past few games. Sure. But, I mean, part of the reason why he was able to, not throw turnovers at all the first half of the year practically was because he's distributing the ball. And he's always been a decent ball distributor. But there's always been, one guy that stepped up and, been the best, and that was usually Stephon Diggs, right? But when Stephon Diggs started falling off, he's had to find other targets. And this year, with Stephon Diggs gone, I mean, literally, it's just whoever is open is getting the ball. And they talked about this early on in the year, or Josh Allen did, where, everyone's selfless and doesn't care about getting the ball. They just care about doing whatever it takes to help the team win. And that does a lot. It does a lot for a quarterback's confidence. It does a lot for their ability to read and process, knowing that, everyone's going to do their job and everyone's focused on doing their job no matter what it is. And it takes a lot of pressure off of the quarterback to kind of look for someone, and it allows the scheme to be more effective, if that makes any sense. And along with that, having a good running game. James Cook ran the ball well. Josh Allen ran for 50 yards himself in this game. And just having a good running game and being able to distribute the ball and have that philosophy for your offense and have that mindset in your players, I mean, that does a lot for your confidence. Does a lot for your level of play as a quarterback. And that's why Josh Allen's playing so well, and why he hadn't thrown any interceptions in the first half of the year, was because he was distributing the ball better than he ever has in his entire career. And he's having an MVP or being in consideration for MVP because of it. Which, good to see for Josh Allen. And defensively for Buffalo, you got 4 sacks, you got 3 picks, and you rattled the Colts and Joe Flacco, who we need to start having some questions about Shane Steichen. Not like if he needs to be fired or anything, but I thought that when Joe Flacco was in at quarterback, I thought he made this team better. And right now, I mean, he's overall 2-4 as a starter. These past 2 games, he's thrown more picks than touchdowns. This offense still hasn't looked much better at all. Have they been more competitive in games? Sure, but I mean, they were still competitive in games with Anthony Richardson, for crying out loud, which isn't saying all that much. But, Shane Steichen, while I'm not going to say it's bad or like he needs to go, but I'm starting to see some concerns. What's going on in Indianapolis right now? Like, let me know in the comments down below, Colts fans, because I want to know. Genuinely, I want to know. Is it the play calling? Is it the lack of execution by the players? And, the defense, obviously, it's terrible. I mean, it's not, doing their offense any favors, and it's the problem. Oh, yeah, it's problem number 1, but without an effective offense, this team has nothing to hang its hat on anymore. I mean, how many times are we gonna talk about Indianapolis and say, oh, they got Jonathan Taylor? Well, that doesn't matter anymore. That doesn't matter because they're not winning football games. It doesn't matter how good Jonathan Taylor is if Michael Pittman isn't performing, if Alec Pierce and Josh Downs, I mean, they're doing fine numbers-wise, but if the quarterback isn't right, as I said before with the Giants, if it's not, you don't got the right quarterback and the quarterback's not playing well, it's all for nothing. If your offense is still struggling and your defense is already bad, you have nothing to hang your hat on. And a team that has nothing to hang its hat on isn't going to win very many football games. Simple as that. And it sucks for the Colts fans, it sucks because they had hope. They had hope that Anthony Richardson was going to step up, and not only was he playing bad, he made a dumb decision, got himself benched for who knows how long. Might actually be sooner at this point if they keep on losing football games. And Joe Flacco is now playing bad. So, like, what are we looking at here? What's happening here? And you got to look at it, and honestly, if you're a Colts fan, this feels like a waste of a season. It feels like a waste of a season because last year, your team was competitive. You were one dropped fourth down pass away from possibly beating the Texans and securing a playoff berth and winning the division. And right now, I mean, if it wasn't for Jacksonville and Tennessee being so bad, I mean, if they were better and they were living up to expectations, the Colts could be fourth in the division if that was the case. So, I mean, they're not that much better. And I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Indy. Because at this point, I mean, you got to look at the head coach and say, look, our quarterbacks are playing bad. We're not getting enough out of our defense. We need to make a change. Something has to happen. And I'm not saying that Shane Steichen needs to be fired. Heck no. I mean, it's way too early to start talking about that. But there's some concerns in here that are I think are legitimate. I think are legitimate that Colts fans might be feeling. And we'll see how far and see what this Colts team does. I mean, they still have plenty of time to turn it around and make something happen. But if they don't get something going here soon, I mean, it could easily, as much as they could, probably climb back in and get back into the playoff race, just as easily, the floor could drop from underneath them and they could fall down and end up picking, possibly top end of the draft. I don't see them picking there right now, but it's at a point at this time where that could happen, and that's a real possibility. So if they don't get their stuff together, I almost said the wrong word. If they don't get their stuff together soon, the season's going to be long gone, and they're going to be looking at themselves in the mirror, thinking what went wrong. So for the Colts, they need to start getting something together because it's going to make or break their season. Right now, I mean, everything looks bad. Everything looks really bad, and I hope they can get it right for the sake of the players and for the sake of the coaches. But they got to figure it out soon. Because if they don't, the season's going to be long gone, and they're going to be looking themselves. Like I said, they're going to be looking themselves in the mirror, and they're going to be sitting there in a rubble of a season, wondering what went wrong. These two teams, on the other hand, don't have to worry about what's going wrong that much, because the Steelers beat the Washington Commanders 28-27. Steelers are now 8-2. Commanders fall to 7-3. Ended on a crazy fourth down pass. Jaden Daniels threw it to Zach Ertz. It was right 4th and 7, right there on the marker. It was marked just short, and then still had all 3 timeouts. They slowed down the Steelers offense, got them down to 4th and 1. They had lined up to go for it, and rookie defensive tackle for the Commanders jumped off sides and allowed Pittsburgh to win the game. And man, it feels really bad. I feel really bad for Johnny Jerzon Newton, dude. He's a rookie, and and it's okay to be upset at him for what he did, but at the same time, you have to feel upset for him because I mean, the kid's 22 years old, 23 years old, made a decision that cost his team the game, and had the Steelers ran a play, which I don't know if they were going to, who knows, but I mean, if they ran one, they probably would have got it anyways. But I mean, that sucks. That sucks really bad. I feel bad for Johnny Newton because it's the rookie mistake. It's just a rookie mistake, and it costs his team a game. And it sucks. It sucks feeling when it feels like you let your team down. Because I've been in that situation. I know what that feels like. So empathetically to Johnny Newton, my man, keep your head up. Everything's gonna be fine. And don't beat yourself up too much. It's okay. It's all gonna be okay. You got a great team. You got a great team around you. You got great teammates. You got good coaches around you too that are gonna help you. Everything's gonna be okay. And overall for Washington, you're gonna be fine. It was a tight loss against a good team, against a good defense. But going on to the Steelers, shout out to Russell Wilson. He's played really well since he's come back to Pittsburgh and as a starter. And you look at how well Justin Fields played. Because he was playing so well at a point where I thought you should start him the rest of the year. And then Russell Wilson comes in, and then he's playing better. He's playing great. And, that organization mattering thing that people, the people that are talking about that all year long, I mean, it matters. It really much matters. I mean, yeah, he's getting better coaching. Most certainly he's getting better coaching compared to Denver at the time, but the organization and the culture matters. I mean, the Steelers have been a winning football team and have been a winning organization almost in its entire existence to this point. So, I mean, it makes sense that, teams, like players that go to Pittsburgh go there and they play better. You know how there's some teams that, you get, no matter who it is you bring in the building, they're always going to play bad. And then some teams, no matter, who they bring in, they're always going to look good. One of those teams is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, offensively, overall, I mean, they found their identity running the football. And obviously, it's because of their offensive coordinators, Arthur Smith. And this offense, obviously, I didn't watch this game, but I watched a Giants game. I watched a couple other games where they were on primetime. Oh, the Dallas game. And, this offense reminds me a lot of that 2019-2020 Titans offense when they had Derrick Henry, when they had A.J. Brown. And all the pieces are still there. You got a tough physical running back, an insanely athletically gifted wide receiver in George Pickens, who had an insane touchdown catch today. And then you traded for another big physical receiver in Mike Williams. He caught one catch for 32 yards, but guess what? It was a touchdown. It was a beautiful throw by Russell Wilson, too, off his back foot. Perfect bucket drop pass. And defensively for Pittsburgh, I mean, why did the Commanders lose? Why did the Commanders lose in this game? Because the Steelers have a disciplined defense. They contained Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels ran for only 3 times for 5 yards. That's it. And all game long, or all season long, Jaden Daniels has been cooking teams with his legs. And the thing is, the formula has always been, okay, since Jaden Daniels was drafted, we got to stop him from running the football. We got to stop him from running the football. And the thing is, that's much easier said than done. Because your discipline has to be perfect if you want to stop a mobile quarterback. And they were able to do that. And that's what happened. They not only did it stop him from running the ball, they stopped the run in general. And it made the offense one-dimensional, which your passing offense might be really good, but if you can't run the football, it makes it that much more harder because you're more predictable. And on offense, the lone true bright spot was Terry McLaurin. He had 100 yards in this game, had a touchdown. And, Jaden Daniels, I mean, sure, he still looked fine, but, I mean, he was contained. He got contained in this game, and I'm not out here to say, like, oh, you force him to throw the football. He can't do anything. He's a running back. I'm not saying that. But simply put, I mean, if a quarterback's game, part of their game is being able to run the football, that's what they do best. That's their mojo. That's their identity. And so you challenge that and you take that away. Sometimes it's hard for teams to overcome it and adapt it. And a lot of people said that about Lamar. And they're like, oh, he's a running back. When you can't run the football and force him to throw, he can't read a defense and throw the football. And no, Lamar Jackson can't throw the football, and he's one of the best passers in the NFL. Sorry, guys, but he is. There's no doubt about that at this point. But for Jaden Daniels, tough loss. It's upsetting. Such a tight game. Obviously, that 4th down throw was, some people have said it was a first down. At one frame, it looked like it was, but honestly, I don't think it was. I think it was short. I was able to catch the last 2 minutes of this game. But if you're Washington, you're fine. It's all going to be okay. It's one loss against one tough team. You're fine. You're 7-3. You're still leading your division. I think, Philly took it because they beat Dallas, and they have 2 losses because of the bye week. Their records are one off. So technically, Washington falls to 2nd place in the division, and they play Philly next week, which is going to be a huge game. But for right now, I mean, you're fine. The Commanders are perfectly fine. I think they're still going to win the division and make the playoffs. But it's all okay. And for Pittsburgh, great win for you guys. Great win. And they're rolling too. We'll have to see what these two teams do next week when we talk about them Wednesday. But these two teams I don't want to talk about anymore. This one's going to be really, really quick. The Vikings beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 12-7. Well, I'll let you guys fester on that. I'm going to check on my camera and make sure that we are still recording because, video stopped recording last episode. And now I have paranoia. I have permanent paranoia now every time I record an episode because I fear that my phone is just going to stop recording on me. And I don't want it to, but guess what? Multiple times it has. And I haven't put in the work to ensure that it doesn't, but I still get paranoid. But hope you guys had enough time to sit here and fester on the Vikings beating Jaguars 12-7. God, this game was terrible, and I'm glad I didn't watch it, and I couldn't watch it. I'm glad. Because, 5 picks, 1 fumble with both teams. Mac Jones started this game in place of Trevor Lawrence, who was hurt. Threw 2 picks in this game. Sam Darnold threw 3 picks in this game. And for Jacksonville, all I'm going to say is you got 3 picks. Your defense played great, and your offense didn't do enough. Sorry, bye. Moving on. Because the big narrative of this game to me is the Vikings. Because Sam Darnold, like I said, threw 2-3 picks. Vikings, they ran the ball well. But this team isn't looking, over these past few weeks, this team isn't looking fraudulent, but they look suspect. Very, very suspect. This team does not look like the football team that started 5-0 to start the year. Not at all. And the thing was, they lost a really tough game to Detroit, and since then, it's been a lot of iffy stuff. They lost to the Rams on Thursday Night Football, 30-20, and then now you're down 2 straight. And then you struggle against Indy. You barely beat Indy. And then you literally struggle against Jacksonville more than you struggled against Indy. And you look at this offense defensively, there's really not much of an issue. But you look at the offense and you wonder, what's happening. Makes you wonder, if this team makes the playoffs, are they going to do anything in the playoffs at this point? It's hard to these past 4 games, you kind of have to worry about it a little bit, and that's why they look suspect, because this team right now doesn't look like the same team that started 5-0 to start the year. And while I don't think they're going to have an absolute meltdown of a collapse, they got to be careful. They got to get their stuff together because, the Vikings, they have high hopes right now. Expectations are high because they started 5-0. Your expectations have to be high if you start that well. So to see them struggling, I'm sure Vikings fans are concerned. Obviously, NFL teams go on their schedule are kind of licking their chops because they're vulnerable right now. They're simply vulnerable right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if they face another bad team and there's an upset bruise. Tennessee, they played Tennessee next week, which they're probably going to win. We'll talk more about that on Wednesday. But I don't know. They look a little suspect right now, and kind of like what I talked about with the Colts. It's nowhere near as bad as where the Colts are, obviously, but their offense has got to come together and dig deep a little bit and get back to what they were doing before. Because before they know it, if this continues to go on, how it's been going the past 4 games, the season, the floor might drop out from underneath them and they might start losing a bunch of games. So they need to get it together, get it right, and I think they can do that. I think they have the pieces and the coaches to make that work. So here's to hoping that Minnesota Vikings can get back on track after a tough, hard-earned victory against Jacksonville. Continuing on with hard-earned victories as I fix my tablet, the New Orleans Saints beat the Atlanta Falcons 20-17. What a shocker this was. I wish I could have watched this one. This was interesting. First game without Dennis Allen. They fired the former Saints head coach that was fired earlier this week. They win their first game. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling picked him up, I think, a week or 2 ago after he was at Buffalo, didn't do anything, got cut, and he had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. Came out of absolutely nowhere. I don't know if anyone picked him up in fantasy or if you bet on him. No one probably did. Anyone that did, though, hey, what a surprise. What a nice surprise you got today. But that was kind of the name of the game in general for the Saints. Or for the Falcons in this game. I can't remember if I mentioned it on my preview for this game, but, this game, obviously, looking in retrospect, was a trap game. It was a most definite trap game. Because, you think, oh, wow, the Saints, they're losing. They're 2-8, and they lost their head coach. They're fired. Their season's done. They're not going anywhere. What we have to do is just let them waltz into our building. We're going to beat them down and send them on our way. No, they went to New Orleans. Yeah, they were in New Orleans, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, we just got to go to New Orleans, kind of beat down our lowly division rival, and we'll walk out and can go back to, we'll be 7-3, hibbity-doo-dah day. And nope, that did not happen. That did not happen at all. And looking at the stat sheet, looking at all, offensively, Atlanta was fine. Kirk had 300 yards, had one pick. Don't know how severe it was, but that's an interception. It's a turnover. But Bijan Robinson had 100 rushing yards. Tyler Algier had almost 60. Darnell Mooney and Drake London had over 90 receiving yards, almost broke 100 for both of them. But defensively, I mean, it was obvious to me looking at the highlights, looking at the stats, that they were caught with their pants down. This defense got caught with its pants down. And offensively, it felt like they stalled a lot. I mean, they had a lot of yards on offense, and their top playmakers had really good numbers. But it tells me that they just couldn't get it done when they were supposed to get it done, which means they probably stalled in the red zone a lot, or they stalled at midfield a lot. And this team is a playoff team, no doubt about it, but the Falcons have their weaknesses. Their pass rush is still not where it needs to be. Offensively, will have major hiccups at certain points, and they have during the year. And, if we're being real for a moment, it's a first-year head coach. I know Raheem Morris was a head coach before, back in the day with Tampa, but, I mean, it's his first year as a head coach with the Atlanta Falcons, and there's still a few holes on this roster. So it's going to need another year for them to really be that contending type of team, I think. But, I mean, make no mistake, I mean, they're much better than how they've been the past few years, and honestly, Falcons fans would take this over what it's been with Arthur Smith any day of the week. So, I mean, they're still a much better football team than they were before. They're still going to make the playoffs. They're still going to win this division and make the playoffs. And they're going to compete, and they still have an opportunity to win a playoff game. I think they can still do that. But they're right where I thought where they'd probably be. And for the Falcons fans, don't fret. You're good. It's a tough divisional loss. It hurts. Hurts a lot, especially because you thought you'd probably go in here and beat them up pretty good. But hey, you're 6-4. You're still 2 games ahead. The division, or your second place team, which is Tampa. Atlanta's going to be perfectly okay. Nothing too worrisome to stress about. Next game on the list is LA Chargers. I almost said San Diego. LA Chargers beat the Tennessee Titans 27-17. And we'll start with the losing team here with Tennessee. Will Levis, no memes this week, although looking at the highlights and all the sacks, they allowed 7 sacks in this game, and he just holds onto the ball way too long. He just holds onto the ball way too freaking long. And you look at Mason Rudolph highlights, and you look at the numbers, the Titans' offensive line didn't allow a lot of sacks when Mason Rudolph was starting, and that's because he's a veteran who's getting the ball out quick, throwing the ball away. And when Will Levis goes back in and they allow 7 sacks, it's kind of obvious what the problem is, don't you think? It's Will Levis. And he played fine in this game. I mean, he had 180 yards, had 2 touchdowns, 2 beautiful throws to Calvin Ridley, who's coming along for them finally, right? But, Will Levis is holding the ball on for way too long. I mean, you'd have to go check on the film to see who was open, who wasn't open. Was it an actual coverage sack, or was there someone open, he wasn't pulling the trigger? I'd probably believe the latter more than the former. But, I mean, for the Titans, I mean, there's just nothing here. They ran the ball well in this game. Fine, yippee. But that's the only thing they've been able to do good this year. They haven't been able to throw the ball downfield. Defensively, they're not able to get pressure and get turnovers. This defense is overrated as all get up. Bottom line is, obviously, you're not going to allow a lot of yards when every other drive, your special teams unit allows the offense to start at the 50-yard line. That's why they haven't allowed a lot of yards, because the defense is starting backed up. Even then, the Chargers marched right down the field. They marched down the field multiple times and punched them in the mouth. And that's what you're getting with the Chargers. In LA, as I said, they punched this team in the mouth, and they're physically disciplined. They're a really good football team, really well coached, and they're a little better than what I thought they would be. I thought this would be another, bake in the ear oven for the Chargers, and it probably could still turn out that way. But right now, things are leaning more towards the side of being a playoff team, and they're probably going to make the playoffs by default at this point because of how bad the AFC is this year. But I thought they'd finish 8-9, still a possibility, but they don't look like an 8-9 football team right now. They're 6-4, and they're going right now. Their defense is the highest scoring defense in the NFL. They're allowing only like 14 points a game or something like that. I mean, they allowed 6 points, then 8 points against the previous 2 opponents. They allowed 17 in this game, and one of them, 7 points, came in like with less than 1 minute to go in the game, which isn't really, really mean too much because the game was already over. They were up 27-10 at that point. So, oh my God, I keep saying that over and over and over again. I got to stop saying that. I got to stop repeating myself. But the Chargers are they're a well-coached football team. And that's been that's been the story of the year for the Chargers, because the past couple years with Brandon Staley haven't been good enough. And now with Jim Harbaugh, excuse me, they're obviously doing better. Their defense is playing much better under Jesse Minter, their defensive coordinator. And offensively, Justin Herbert, while his numbers are down, he's more efficient than he's ever been. Why is that? Because he has a good running game, running the football. J.K. Dobbins is a great running back. He's shown that he is a really good running back. And Justin Herbert never had that. He's never had a really good running back in the backfield since he's been with the Chargers. And now that it takes a lot of pressure for him to throw the ball a ton. And sure, like I said, his numbers are down, but you look at his completion percentage and you look at, touchdowns and interceptions. He's more efficient. He's simply more efficient than he's ever been. And it's because he has a good running back and a good running game behind him to take the pressure off. And also, it helps take a lot of pressure off of these receivers, off of Quentin Johnson, off of Ladd McConkey, who's a rookie. And they didn't throw the ball a whole lot in this game, but they didn't have to, because when you run the ball well, like the Chargers do, it takes a lot of pressure off. It reminds me a lot of Detroit. Jared Goff's the most efficient passer in the NFL. He's not putting up great numbers right now, but he doesn't have to, because the running game is so good. If they have to throw the ball 50 times, Jared Goff is going to do it, and he's going to do it well, but they don't have to. When you have a good running game, it does wonders for your quarterback. I've said this all episode long, and I said I was gonna be talking about it all episode long, because it's true. It's simply true. And that's what this NFL season has told us, is that running the football is still important in this league, and having good running backs is important in this league. That's all I can really say. They're a disciplined unit defensively and offensively. They have an identity that's allowing them to win football games and taking pressure off their quarterback. That's how you win football games. But for the Chargers, overall, the big takeaway here is they got another win. They beat up on a bad team, and they're 6-4 right now, and they're rolling. Right now, they have the 7th seed in the playoffs, maybe the 5th, 6th seed, maybe. I don't know at the point in time. I'm sure that's going to change here soon, after Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football are done, I think. But however, they're good. They're good right now. They're rolling, and for Tennessee, it's more of the same issues every week. At this point, you got to start questioning the head coach. You got to start questioning everything at this point. You're going to be picking top 3 in the draft, and hey, who knows? See here, and we got 2 more games to go, and then we'll be out of here. But the Jets, Cardinals beat the Jets 31-6. Kyler Murray, shout out to him. He went 22 of 24 passing, had a touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he had more touchdowns and incompletions today, obviously. So that's first off, that's awesome. Shout out to Kyler Murray for having such a great game. 6 players overall ran the ball for 140 yards, which, having a perfect balance, having 7 pass catchers, literally almost perfect balance, as all things should be, to quote the legendary Titan Thanos. But defensively is where we got to talk about. They shut this Jets offense down. And for Aaron Rodgers, he's done. Aaron Rodgers is done, guys. I'm sorry. He's done. He's mid. Some people would say he's bad, but you look at the film, he's actually not that bad. But he's still mid. It's still mid. This offense is putrid. It's unacceptably bad. The run game was okay. But, you can't throw for 160 yards in a game when you have Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams out there, Tyler Conklin at tight end. You can't have that. Why? Why is it so bad? Why? How can you muster only 6 points and 200 total yards to a defense that's actually pretty darn bad statistically this year? It's because of the coaching. This coaching is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And, when you fired Robert Saleh, that was the note that your season was over. Because no interim head coach is going to come in here and do better than the head coach. That simply doesn't happen in the National Football League very often, if at all. So when you look at teams that do that, Rich Bisaccia, a couple years ago in 2021 when he brought the Raiders to the playoffs that year and almost won a playoff game against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. But outside of that, what other interim head coach can you remember leading his team to a winning record? Never. It almost never happens. And that's because the entire coaching staff for this team is bad. It's incredibly terrible. And to say it again, how does a team with so much talent on its roster, Quincy Williams hitting Kyler Murray in the back so hard, forcing a fumble that he knocks his helmet off, which was an insane play from them. How does that happen? And we're all like plays like that go for nothing? It's coaching. It's literally coaching. And organizationally as well. They've never been able to get the right head coach. They've never been able to get the right quarterback. And the one time that they got a good quarterback and they got a good roster around them, they flopped on the coaching, and now the Jets are 2-8, 3-7, whatever they are. Yeah, 3-7. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry to Jets fans, but this is a waste of a year. This is sad. This is sad looking and talking about the Jets every week and seeing them just lose and be bad and be terrible, especially after a win against Houston that I thought they showed something. I'm not going to say they were going to go on a run or anything, but I thought they showed that they can do something and win football games, and here's an opportunity for them. I talked about this in my preview. The Cardinals' defense is bad. I thought with the Jets, doing well against Houston, they could take advantage of that, and their defense could do enough to Arizona's offense to give them an opportunity to win, and they didn't. They completely flopped. It's just sad. It's just sad to talk about the Jets every week because I had so much hype for them. I know a lot of people did in general. Jets fans were ecstatic. And I'm sorry. The Jets are just not a good football team this year, and, 30 of their 53 players are going to be free agents, so it looks like we're going to be starting from square one all over again. To conclude, we got to conclude with another doozy. The Eagles beat the Cowboys 34-6, and so much for saying this game was going to be close. I said it. That's why I almost initially had the Cowboys winning this game. I flipped it to the Eagles last second in my prediction video, but I thought this game was still going to be close because the Eagles and Cowboys tend to play each other very well historically, even recently. And that was not the case, guys. 34-6, does that seem close to you? Not really. Not very close. But for Dallas, this defense is so bad. It is so unbearably bad. I was able to watch the first half of this game, and watching the first half outside of a Trayvon Diggs interception in the end zone covering Dallas Goedert, and you had a couple sacks from a corner blitz. That's all. That's all. Everything else has been just bad. All bad. You lost 4 straight games. You're losing home game. You're giving up an average of 33 points a game on the year to this point. And Mike McCarthy, you just need to go. He's on an expiring contract. Let him go. Get someone new in here. Because at this point, you can't build a roster. Mike McCarthy inherited what was a good roster. And then when good players left and players needed to be paid, they couldn't draft good enough. They weren't bringing in free agents, and now they're bad. And that reflects on the coaching. That reflects, more importantly, on the organization. Jerry Jones needs to step down, hire a new legitimate GM, and let Mike McCarthy go and get a new head coach in here that can, build up this roster. Because they can't build a roster. They can't draft well. Most, kind of, like, there's been some misses in there. And this team is just bad. At this point, this team is bad. It's no longer mid. It is bad. And for Philly, if we want to be, but we'll stop at Philly for a second. We're continuing with Dallas. But offensively, without Dak, they're no more. Cooper Rush only threw 45 yards in this game. Trey Lance came in this game, threw 6 passes, and still managed to throw an interception. Feel bad for the guy, but, man, that was a bad pick by San Francisco, looking in retrospect. But, shout out to Rico Dowell, I guess. He was a lone notable spot in this game. He had 50 yards or 70 yards, something like that. He was fine. But, for Philly, if you want to let's end the show on a positive note, this team is good. If they're 7-2, this team is fine. they're fine. They had that hiccup offensively earlier in the year when they lost A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and since they've been back, it's been nothing but awesomeness for this offense. Nothing but awesomeness and legitness for this offense. Jalen Hurts had 4 total touchdowns in this game, 2 passing, 2 rushing. Him and Saquon both ran the ball really well, very effective. A.J. Brown did his thing. And defensively, which has been the problem for Philly this year, they seem to be finally catching their stride. They held the Giants to 3 points. They struggled against Jacksonville, but in that first half, they pitched almost a perfect game. They held Dallas in this game to 6 points. I mean, they're all bad teams and, all bad offenses. But here's the thing. For a defense that struggled early on this year, and especially for a secondary that's young and developing, it's nice to see that they're stringing good games together, that they're being consistent, and that this helps. This helps their defense and their team out a ton. Because here's the deal. They got a big test next week against the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. And as I said, they've had 3 straight games of good defensive play against bad teams. Now you're going up against a good team with a really good offense, one of the best offenses in the NFL, with a quarterback who's favored to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at this point in Jaden Daniels. So you got a big test coming up against Washington Philly on Thursday Night Football. We'll talk more about it on Wednesday. But man, I mean, for Philly, got to be happy for them. You got to be happy that the secondary is being consistent and they're stringing some games along together. It's going to help with their confidence, and it should help with their development too as the season continues to go along. But I think that will do it, and it will do it for me today. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. We made it through it. Only took like 2 sips of water. So, hey, that's good for me. That's solid stuff right there. But I don't know. I guess I got to end the show how I normally do it. I guess I kind of just came at me. I was just in the thick of it and completely forgot that we were almost done, or didn't really realize that we were almost done until it was done. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to do what every YouTuber tells you to do. You guys know the drill, guys. Please, please, please get me into the algorithm. Like the video. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts down below. Subscribe to the channel. And of course, share the video with your friends and your family. Whether you send them a link, whether you're telling them about me, or just word of mouth. Talk about me. Talk about this show with your friends. Get everyone locked in and locked on to the Shumake Take podcast. Coming out with great videos for you guys twice a week. Now with times. I think from now on, videos are going to be scheduled to come out on Monday and Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock in the morning. Instead of them dropping at like 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning at a random time where not very many people are awake. I'll schedule it. So start your day right with a good cup of Shumake Take. And that's going to do it for me today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do everything. You already know the drill. But that's it. Hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you guys next time.